Forget about margin hikes. Forget the paper games and the $60-something price for a moment. While Wall Street was busy fixing the casino last night, something unfolded in Seoul, South Korea, that makes banking manipulation look like a rounding mistake. Ladies and gentlemen, Asian guy here, we now have real technical confirmation of a technology that doesn't merely disrupt EVs. It rewrites the commodity landscape itself. For a decade, the bears insisted silver was just a byproduct. Abundant. Finished. They claimed industry was abandoning silver. They argued efficiency gains in solar panels would crush demand. They were wrong dangerously. Catastrophically wrong. What I'm about to lay out is the silver bomb, a single technological breakthrough mathematically certain to consume the entire global silver mine supply within 3 years. We're talking about Samsung's solid-state battery. We're talking about a 9-minute charging time. And we're talking about a number that terrifies bullion banks 1 kilogram. That's how much physical silver is required for every single vehicle. If you thought the solar squeeze was significant, you haven't seen anything yet. Solar was the appetizer. This is the main course. And the table is already empty. Let's remove the marketing noise. Samsung SDI has been hinting at solid-state batteries for years. So has everyone else. Toyota, QuantumScape, Panasonic. The term became a buzzword. But by late 2025, Samsung crossed a line the others did not. They confirmed mass production beginning in 2027. This is no longer a lab curiosity. It's an industrial rollout. So what makes this battery different? The anode? In conventional lithium-ion batteries, the ones in your phone or a 2024 Tesla, the anode is made from graphite or silicon. It functions, but it comes with limits. It expands, it degrades, and it charges slowly because lithium ions must physically intercalate, squeezing into the graphite structure. Samsung discarded graphite entirely. In its place, they introduced a silver-carbon composite layer. Why silver? Because it's the most conductive metal on the planet. More importantly, in this chemical system. Silver has a rare advantage. It forms a solid solution with lithium. During charging, lithium ions race through the solid electrolyte and collide with the silver carbon layer. The silver serves as a landing surface, instantly dissolving the lithium and forming a smooth, flat layer of lithium metal. This process prevents dendrites, the real enemy, sharp metallic spikes that grow inside batteries and can trigger catastrophic failure. The silver layer eliminates them, ensuring a perfectly uniform energy distribution. The result is something previously unattainable. Starting with an energy density of 500 watt-hours per kilogram. That's roughly double the energy density of a current Tesla battery. It means the pack becomes half the size and half the weight. Range 600 miles. 96 kilometers on a single charge. Range anxiety gone. And then comes speed, the real game changer, a full charge in 9 minutes. You plug in, grab a coffee, and you're topped off. It becomes the same routine as pumping gas. That erases the final psychological barrier to EV adoption. But physics always sends an invoice. And this time, the bill is paid in silver. Now stay with me on the math. Because this is the math JP Morgan doesn't want you looking at. The Samsung Ag-C anode layer is extremely thin, about 5 micrometers. Critics shrug and say, it's thin, so it can't possibly use much silver. Wrong. Completely wrong. The surface area is enormous. An EV battery isn't one solid block. It's thousands of sheets. Layered. Folded. And wound together. The anode surface area in a 100 kilowatt-hour pack is roughly the size of 2 football fields. When you coat that much surface, even a 5-micron layer becomes a serious amount of material. The scientific papers, the Nature Energy publication this technology is built on, spell out the loading requirements. It works out to about 5 grams of silver per ampere hour. Scale that to a vehicle and the math lands at roughly 1,000 grams of silver per car. That's 1 kilogram. Sanchar, 15 troy ounces, 1 silver bar per vehicle. A Tesla Model Y today uses 20 to 30 grams of silver. Samsung just boosted silver requirements by roughly 3,000%. Global EV output is projected to hit 30 million units annually. Even 10% adoption consumes 3,000 metric tons. At 60%, the math stops being tight and becomes impossible. That represents nearly 60% of total global mine supply. We only extract about 850 million ounces of silver each year. Solar panels already consume roughly 200 million ounces. Electronics take another 300 million. Jewelry absorbs about 200 million. Investment demand accounts for around 250 million. We are already running an annual deficit of roughly 200 million ounces. So where exactly are another 480 million ounces for Samsung supposed to come from? They don't exist. There is no hidden stockpile large enough. There is no mine capable of filling that gap. So what happens next? Price. The price must rise to a level that forces demand destruction elsewhere. Squeezing jewelry, investment, and solar as industrial buyers bid higher. If Samsung needs silver to produce a $100,000 vehicle, paying $200 an ounce is entirely rational. At that price, 32 ounces cost about $6,400 in a six-figure care that is painful but manageable. For individual investors, it is prohibitive. Samsung will outbid retail buyers, mints, and jewelers, pulling every available ounce into the automotive supply chain. And this isn't just talk. Buyers are already lining up. Reports point to a partnership with BMW, launching its Neue Klasse lineup in 2027 with solid-state batteries from Samsung SDI. Rumors suggest BMW pre-ordered around 500,000 units. At 1 kilogram per car, that's 500 metric tons. Roughly 16 million ounces removed before the year begins. BMW doesn't secure that silver through futures or ETFs. They sign direct offtake deals with miners like Fresnillo, KGO-HM, and Glencore, buying years of production up front. This is why exchange inventories drain and registered stocks freeze. The metal bypasses exchanges entirely, moving straight from the mine to Samsung's factory in Hungary, leaving public markets with leftovers. Because while Samsung is aiming for 2027, China is moving now. And that means BYD. Build your dreams. The largest EV manufacturer on the planet. They've unveiled a 5-minute charging infrastructure. Physics rules out old graphite anodes. Intelligence from Shenzhen suggests BYD is already testing a hybrid solid-state battery, using less silver than Samsung, around 500 grams, but rolling it out faster and at greater scale. BYD sold roughly 3 million EVs in 2024. If just 30% convert to this silver-intensive chemistry, that's 1 million vehicles times 500 grams, about 16 million ounces of silver. Full deployment equals roughly 48 million ounces. Between BMW and BYD alone, close to 100 million ounces of new demand emerges, effectively erasing the entire global silver surplus built over the last decade. The auto industry is pure follow the leader. If Samsung and BMW launch 9-minute charging vehicles, Tesla won't accept 30-minute charging. Mercedes won't surrender the luxury segment. Specifications must be matched. And matching specs means matching chemistry. There's no alternative path. Charging speed becomes the new benchmark, forcing every major automaker towards silver-intensive solid-state designs to remain competitive. That brings us to the Tesla panic unfolding in Peru. Tesla bet on the 4,680 battery with a graphite anode. Marketed as cheaper and better, but physically incapable of 9-minute charging without overheating. When Samsung's specs leaked in late 2024, reports suggest Tesla's internal mood shifted from confidence to crisis. Elon Musk knows charging speed is the new horsepower. Tesla's response was to send Panasonic on a global sourcing mission. Intelligence and local reports from Lima suggest Panasonic executives have been active in Peru since November 2025. Seeking silver supply, Peru is the world's third largest silver producer, with a fragmented mining sector. Panasonic is reportedly negotiating direct mine-to-factory offtake deals, locking up future silver before it reaches open markets. They're cutting out the refiners. They're cutting out the exchanges. They're trying to purchase ore straight from the ground. Panasonic is changing course. Search results from September 2025 show Panasonic racing to develop a next-generation battery for 2027. Described as an anode-free or ultra-high-capacity design, their targets are clear: 900-kilometer range and faster charging. Numbers impossible to reach with graphite alone. You reach those numbers with silver. Whether Panasonic adopts the full Samsung-style design or a hybrid version closer to 500 grams, the outcome is the same. Tesla steps directly into the silver market. If Tesla produces 2 million vehicles per year using 500 grams each, that creates 32 million ounces of new demand, roughly 5 times the annual output of the Lucky Friday mine. This is no longer theory. It's a bidding war, Samsung versus Tesla versus BYD, fighting over a tiny, finite amount of silver. Skeptics, particularly desks at Goldman Sachs, short silver, argue recycling will solve it. This recycling myth collapses under logic. Samsung's solid-state batteries carry a warranted lifespan of about 20 years, locking silver inside vehicles until the mid-2040s. For the next 15 years, silver flows only one way into vehicles. Nothing flows back out. So the metal must come from active mines or personal holdings. Prices must rise aggressively. Claims that manufacturers will replace silver with copper fail. In solid-state batteries, silver is structural, stabilizing lithium ions. Copper reacts. Aluminum expands. Only silver works. Physics does not compromise. And because the 9-minute charge time is the entire selling point of the vehicle, they won't sacrifice it. The thrifting wall has been reached. Samsung needs the full 5-micron layer, which means the 1 kilogram per car figure is effectively locked in. It's not coming down. This brings us to the data that isn't being openly discussed. The Silver Institute tracks global silver supply and demand and has long been criticized for underreporting usage. Information has surfaced about its upcoming 2026 interim report pointing to a major revision. Total demand for 2024 is estimated near 2 billion ounces. But the 2026 figure is reportedly revised to 5 billion ounces. A 300 million ounce jump driven by automotive offtake. We already run a 200 million ounce annual deficit. Add another 300 million in demand, and the shortfall expands to 500 million ounces per year. Global mining produces only about 850 million ounces annually. That means we consume roughly 60% more silver than we extract. Registered inventories sit near 30 million ounces. This isn't tightness. It's mathematical impossibility. Now view this through a BMW CEO's eyes. A $120,000 luxury sedan using 1 kilogram of silver costs $2,250 in silver at $70 an ounce. At $2,000, that cost becomes $6,400. BMW doesn't cancel the model. They raise the price. Buyers of 6-figure cars accept it. That is inelastic demand. And industrial users will pay whatever is required. Retail investors behave differently. At 400 silver, most won't buy aggressively. But Samsung, BMW, and Tesla will. They can absorb even $500 silver and pass cost to consumers. That's why the price ceiling disappears. Resistance likely doesn't emerge until near $1,000 an ounce, where silver costs $32,000 per car. Between $70 and $1,000, the road is wide open, and there is a third pillar that turns shortage into crisis war. In Washington, as a signal has begun flashing, one seen before major conflicts. It isn't a market chart, it's pizza. The Pentagon Pizza Index spiked violently last night. Drivers reported being turned away at security checkpoints. Lights stayed on all night. This morning, the AP wire explained why. Russia is evacuating the families of its diplomats from Venezuela. This is not routine. When a major power pulls civilians out of a proxy state, it signals that kinetic action may be close. It suggests the long, cold conflict in South America could be heating up. That raises an obvious question. Why should a silver investor care about Venezuela? Venezuela itself doesn't produce much silver. But its neighbors do. Venezuela borders a destabilized region that connects directly to Peru and Chile. If Venezuela becomes an active theater, if the U.S. Navy imposes a Caribbean blockade, South American supply routes are disrupted. Peru is the world's third largest silver producer. Chile is a major copper-silver producer. If shipping lanes or the Panama Canal are compromised, companies like Panasonic, Tesla, and Samsung cannot access the silver they need. The Pentagon Pizza Index isn't just warning that supply is tight. It's warning that supply may be cut off. That leads to the most frightening competitor for silver Raytheon. A Samsung vehicle uses about 1 kilogram of silver. A single Tomahawk cruise missile uses roughly 500 ounces, about 15 kilograms, in guidance systems, contacts, and high-performance batteries. Failure is not an option in weapons systems. In 2024 and 2025, U.S. military stockpiles were heavily drawn down. Missiles were fired in the Red Sea and sent to Ukraine and Taiwan. Inventories are now low, and the Venezuela signal is flashing red. The Pentagon must restock, producing thousands of new missiles. Thousands multiplied by 500 ounces each equals millions of ounces of new. Non-negotiable, silver demand. This creates a three-way battle for silver. Samsung wants it for vehicles. The Pentagon needs it for weapons. And investors want it for wealth preservation. The Pentagon wins. It has the Defense Production Act and can prioritize supply. But the U.S. lacks sufficient domestic silver mines and depends on imports, especially from Mexico. The world's largest silver producer, resource nationalism is rising across Latin America. Mexico has already nationalized lithium, and bills now propose nationalizing strategic metals like silver. If Mexico imposes an export ban, the North American silver supply chain collapses overnight. Samsung lacks domestic silver and must import nearly everything. Any disruption across the Pacific turns silver from a pricing problem into an availability crisis.